Hey, you guys. Hi on YouTube and hi on Facebook. I'm on my Pride Piper website today. It's on Facebook. I just sent out to the people that know me to like it. But if I don't know you, then I can't send an invite. But so I'm trying something different. So Pride Piper people that might be watching, forgive me because I have to look at YouTube a little bit, but I'll try to go back and forth. So I'm trying to spread the word far and wide because it's a need to know. A friend of mine years ago when I lived in California, he said to me, I was on a need to know basis, and right now I didn't need to know. But right now we need to all know what's going on. So that's why I'm trying to do it on Facebook and YouTube. So if I'm a little antsy today, forgive me. Sorry about yesterday. I went to go make a post for a live video, but I didn't realize that it had put the time on there. I was just trying to put a teaser from my Pride Piper website, and then somehow it put a 4 o'clock time. Pardon me. So it gave me a little extra time to work on things. So if you bear with me, my son, he's 18. He's all about the YouTube. He's like, the hot spot, the sweet spot is 10, 15 minutes. And I was like, yeah, try to say what I have to say in 10 or 15 minutes. No. Sweet spot or not, you guys gotta have to come and go so you can hear the whole story. But I'm hoping that the people are coming here, are following along, and there's so much to say about KP, Kirk Prince. I might call him PK, KP, or combination thereof. It's Kirk Prince, and the way the file reads, and these are just my hypotheses, as we spoke about. But once I share them with you, you'll definitely realize as we go, it's not as the media tried to sell for sure. And then you can hear what I have to say based on my and our research, and then we'll go from there. So I still have a runny nose, so really please pardon me when I do that, because there's really no polite way to do it. So I'm really sorry. Now, this is a continuation video, so it's not, this is a really big story, you guys, biblical proportions we're talking about here. So it's not something that you can just sit down and well, you can follow along, but it's best if you go back and watch the other videos, because we are talking about Kirk Prince and the plan. And actually what heretofore should be, I'll call it the breakdown, because that's what it is. You guys have probably seen, maybe you haven't, on April 21st, 2016, I believe, about 1:32 in the afternoon, after I got my text, I posted, it's not the breakdown. It's not the flu, it's the breakdown, more to come, or something thereof. But something just told me that something, wasn't right. And amongst, as I share in the slideshows, the word in the song breakdown came to me. So this is the breakdown. It started in 2013. Well, before that, but in earnest in 2013, and I will prove to you by dates. So it helps if you go back and watch the other videos where I start talking about Kirky J as Prince, because it takes it back to square one, and then all the doctor's phone calls and everything that I've proven thus far. So when I touch on them again today, you'll be able to follow along. So thank you for coming back. I surely wish that I could drink my coffee, but it's a little bit frozen, so we'll have to wait. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I just want to say I appreciate it, and hopefully you feel the truth. I don't come here for shits and giggles, as my parents used to say. I come here to get across a point, to teach what I have been taught, and to do my soul's purpose. And it's fun, and I'm grateful. And so anyway, I'm going to jump right in. Thank you. After, I set the tone for Kirk trying to be Prince and getting the drugs and all the prescriptions in his name and so forth, we're going to continue on. I'm going to jump right into what I was researching about Paisley Park. When you pull the police report record, there's about, 46 incidents, incident report from Carver County. Hi, Paula. And so what I found interesting, because as I was talking about, all the main players entered, from years back, but realistically, at least since Kirky came back in 2009, and Dr. Schulenberg has been his doctor since 2000. So anyway, the police incident report is from 1/1/2011 to 4/21/2016. So I just went ahead and looked at the police report as I'd done before, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what, again, People magazine, so forth, isn't going to tell you. It's they want you to think that, Prince was real private. He did have some Paisley Park after dark parties, and everything's just, on the straight and narrow. But we're going to learn otherwise. So a few of those incidents I want to share with you guys to set the tone here. I'm just going to label them off. 6/11, somebody called to check on Prince Rogers. Now, just the name Prince Rogers, cocaine habit. 7 July 11, somebody was taking pics of Paisley Park outside, unauthorized people coming through the fence. 2 white males dressed in black coming through the fence. That was on 9/8/11, pardon me. You'd have towing in there. You'd have constant fire alarms going off. Every time the incident is on there as a fire alarm, it says key holder contacted and said that it was left over from fog machine, smoke machine, as if, riots and parties are just going on all the time at Paisley Park after dark. So anyway, that went from 2011 to 2012, basically the whole same kind of thing, trespassing people, people not paying for cabs. Then 2013, 2 of 2013 is around the time they started doing what they call the swatting, where in the incident report, when you read it, it says, we found that this was unfounded and it was swatting, even though a lady called and claimed that she had been raped, etc. You have to watch the other videos. 4/19/13 fire alarm. Now, this is interesting because on 4/19/13, now Phaedra was said to have been hired, gone out, because Kirk said himself, let me back up. One of the young ladies, Mariah Brown or somebody, had said that she quit. Maybe it was Deb Johnson, when Phaedra came on because of all the shady stuff she was doing. So Wikipedia will say that Phaedra went back to like 2014 or what have you, but she actually goes back further, 2012 and stuff like that. And then in 2014, she left to go out to California per Kirk. That's where she set up the Articles of Incorporation for NPG Publishing, which we'll talk about and touched on in the other videos. However, I'm going to stick to the incident report because I just got myself lost. What I meant to say is she was there, and someone on 4/19/13 called the police for a police escort, said that they had been hired at Paisley Park and then fired, and they wanted help getting their belongings, and that they were staying at, of course, Chanhassen Suites. It was 5/13 that the rape was claimed. That was my bad. They were still going through and setting up Jabber. Ann Tollefson with Integra, regulatory manager over there. I discussed it in the other videos. Now, it goes on. 10/19/13, October 19th, someone, Prince, it says, lost or someone stole a cell phone. Okay, but then that same Prince Kirk or whomever it was called back to say that the cell phone was found in a cab. But the interesting thing about it is, as I exposed, Renville Wellington came in 2013 with the Go phone. So the theft of the cell phone in 10/19, as well as Dan Piepenbring mentions in the book, and it's mentioned all over, that's the reason that Prince didn't have a phone, is because he had his personal information stolen at one point. So just little tidbits that I pick up. Like I said, I don't know if you would have wanted to be my teenager or not. They love me still. 10/19/13 theft of the cell phone, you guys, after Renville. And then the other interesting thing is, as we've discussed, is on 10/23/13. This is very important. The incident report lists that a 54-year-old male, I believe it would have been at that time, went to Ridgeview Medical Center, 212 Ridgeview, Chaska, on a rig. They said they called a rig, and that's what the incident report shows. However, as I will show you later, then Kirk goes on, as he's explaining to an officer, saying that he took Prince to the ER that night. So again, discrepancies all over the place. So anyway, that was 10/23 of 13 that they went to the ER. I don't want to drone on this. I just want to let you guys know that what the media has tried to pass off as Paisley Park and is not Paisley Park. And as I mentioned before, go through and look at the pictures during the investigation, like during the time that the investigation was being done. Paisley Park is completely run down. You can tell that all that's being done there is corrupt. So, and then compared to what's being done now, and you can say that, yeah, they do that with all superstars after they die, Graceland, whatever. But Paisley Park, y'all, come on, look at the pictures. Anyway, it was dirt going on is what it was, and we're going to get through the thick of it. Anyway, there was trespassing women. They called for parking at Paisley Park. There was fire alarms going off constantly. The front door was being propped open. Security was being called. Now, it's funny to note that on 7/18/14, security incident report was getting a hold of Paisley Park because the front door was propped open. However, and when Dan Piepenbring writes in the book about how security was all around and they had to get past security and this and that, so there was security there in 2016 too. However, Kirk, again, when being interviewed and in the incident reports, they say that there was security at Paisley Park, but it had been dismantled because Prince was shy or insecure about being watched. I mean, come on, how ridiculous is that? And then the Beautiful Ones book goes on to say that when they went back in July or August, when it was super hot and all the fire alarms were taped up and the security cameras were turned towards the wall. So you tell me who was doing what over there. Okay. Anyway, so those are the kind of things that were going on. You had vehicle tampering, some strange message, another message about Prince Roger's son having open heart surgery. That was on 1/26/15, and she needed to get a message to him. It's because they have clone people living over there too. It's skin suit stuff. It's chaos and disorder is what it is. Fire alarms constantly, you guys. Now, I'm going to discuss with you what might make a fire alarm go off. You ever watch Breaking Bad? You might have some idea of what I might be getting at. I mentioned on the other video the first time that U.S. Customs had the Moline Airport, Quad City Airport, Quad City DJs, remember? They have a U.S. Customs there. Checkpoint, and you can legally get into the United States. And so on 5/1/2015, U.S. Customs wanted contact information for Paisley Park. So again, very interesting stuff there, I thought. I want to touch on something, you guys, again, because it's all part of the plan, part of the breakdown. Everybody knows money and greed are disgusting and people are awful. However, how could it be done on such a grand stage without anybody knowing? I mean, you got to think about how many people it takes to be involved. So, but then, when I think of the simplicity really of, and I'm sure there's more to it than I know, it's just a little bit that I'm told and can discover about Phaedra going out to California. You guys, she goes out to California. She sets up articles of incorporation for NPG Publishing, LLC. Now, again, I was in the mortgage business. I had to do these things for people for business. So I know a little bit about it. I'm not, LLCs and DBAs, as I've discussed, they're extremely easy to set up. So she went out to California and set up the articles of incorporation in 2014 and 2015. Okay. She used 1611 Telegraph Road, Oakland, California, as the address. And then what she did is, after she set up that in California, I'm assuming, I can't say for sure, is when they brought that NPG Publishing back over here to Paisley Park and started with the NPG Publishing to where the deposit was made. And then they changed the the name from NPG Music Publishing LLC for the 965 songs that she had rights to, the deposit that they made for that. Then they changed the name to Southern Music Publishing Company, Inc., Peer Music. So again, those things, listen to this. One time one of my daughters had a real shady landlord, and he kept doing that. He kept renting out the same property and getting people to put money on it as a land contract. And long story longer, I went and did some research and I found out that he kept switching DBAs and LLCs and he just kept scamming people. And I went to court with her and for her, and the dude and his lawyer left squealing with their tail between their legs, and it was awesome. And Vanessa, that rocks my world to this day. So anyway, it's not that hard to figure out what they did. It just takes somebody that loves enough and cares enough to expose it. Hi, Brenny. Now, I want to discuss with you the players. If you haven't caught up with the other videos, you got Kirk, Phaedra, Howard, Kornfeld, Marone. Marone, as I discussed before, you guys, was selling what's called photo books out of her purse. She was busted on the 21st with a bunch of cash, photo books, and was working with a lady named Vera and a place named Copycat CDs, saying that they were buying CDs. Now, if and when you listen to Prince in the past, like I did, you would know that he said that he only had professionals film his concerts because he knew that this kind of stuff would be going on. So to have, oh my God, media, who Kirk was contacting on the 14th, as well as the model agency and stuff like that, sending in these people so they could make these videos. They were doing it all along. It goes pretty deep. So now listen, I was discussing the timeline, pardon me, for the stuff at Paisley Park. But I told you guys the other day that Renville Wellington, if you were one of the people that goes and just pulls the information that's available online and you look at Kirk Johnson's cell phone records that are provided, you're going to see the name Renville Wellington over and over and over again. And what it says is former groundskeeper. Well, former groundskeeper, okay, but there's no interviews with him. There's no information about him. There's only Chris Wagner, head detective, asking people on the cell phone if they've ever heard of him. However, as I exposed, the Go phone was set up in his name so that he could contact and work with Kirk. And I will tell you why. On 323, you guys, which is part of the 111 of 11 to 421:16, 323 of 16, Renville Wellington and Kirk were in constant contact, especially between 9:30 and 9:22 and 9:53 a.m. That's the day that the Kingdom Hall does what they call a remembrance of Jesus Christ or something like that. And that's when you read the files that Larry Graham said that Prince came back from Canada to do that with him and be with him. That's what he said. So on that day, Renville Wellington was using the phone, former groundskeeper. Yeah, right. Now, also on 331, the phone was being used. I haven't figured out what was being done on that date yet. Renville Wellington, super heavy, you guys, on 414 and 415 and 419. As I discussed in the other videos, remember Kirk said he didn't know if he saw Prince on 418, and we'll get to that later. Renville was using the phone, the Go phone, on all the days, the pertinent days. I have them written down here. So I have to look at my notes. I have a lot to memory, but you know. So the burner phone with Renville is especially important because I believe, he was, pulling some kind of security, doing some stuff at Paisley Park. He's from Canada. We established that in the other videos, and nobody knows who he is. So between him, Kirk, and Shaun Powell, Kirk's nephew, we're going to have quite the little discussion on him, you guys, because I've touched on these things before, but I'm pulling them together so I can get your thoughts in order as well as mine. Pardon me again. Here on the paperwork, you can see for yourself, I'm not just making it up, that Shaun Powell is described as blah, 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 what I'm about to share with you, and that he lives in Bloomington, okay? Shaun Powell or Shaun David Powell, those are the two names, because I do believe there's probably two of everybody in some way. 7802 West 111th Street, Bloomington. The fact that Shaun Powell had an address of Bloomington, Minnesota is very intriguing, because you know what else happened in Bloomington, Minnesota? And I'll get you there in a minute, but I got to stay on track. The other thing that happened in Bloomington, Minnesota was the officer that requested video shows And I quote, Kirk alone at 7845 Portland Avenue South, Bloomington, Minnesota, on the 14th, picking up the Percocet. Okay? So just keep that in the back of your mind. Okay? No. Did we get to see that on TMZ? Well, no, golly, we didn't. We didn't get to see it anywhere, but it exists in the file. Yes, it does. Anyway, I'm going to stay on track with Shaun because he used to look like body doubles, and it's how it went down. So Shaun Powell is described as 6 foot tall, 350 pounds. That's really important to note, you guys, because as I have discussed with you, on the dates of 4/14 and 4/15 Moline, it was supposed to be, supposedly per the media, Kirk, Prince, and Judith Hill. That's it. Okay. However, when you read the files and you start noticing all the different limo drivers and the this and the that and that, you also end up with another bodyguard at the hospital with them. And a bodyguard perhaps carrying Prince off the plane, perhaps carrying a non-breathing woman off the plane, depends on which article you read. So that bodyguard is always described as 300 pounds, a big black guy in a suit, a big black bodyguard in a suit. Never Kirk Johnson, 5'7", and I don't know, maybe 160. Okay. Big difference, you guys. However, if people don't follow the story as closely as I did, being the stalker that I am, you would never know these things. But go and look closely at the pictures of Kirk Johnson on his Twitter, on his Instagram. Go look at those pictures, and then go look at the pictures that are available of supposedly Prince's last day, where he's on the tarmac with this big black guy who has a real big face that supposedly looks like Kirk, but isn't Kirk, because look at what I'm saying. Okay. So anyway, Shaun Powell, not only are they doing that in Bloomington, you guys, the crime log at the scene shows that Shaun Powell signed in at about 1:03. And Omar Baker, Prince's brother, said that, and some Apollonia and some other people said that Shaun was actually the one that found Prince in the elevator, but that's neither here nor there because I want to stay on track. So listen, I told you before, a lady that moved into, she called the Chanhassen police and said that she moved into this residence. They blacked out the address, but I'll give it to you. It's 2178 Red Fox Circle in Chanhassen. And she said that she found all the prescriptions that were belonging to Kirk's nephew. And she gave those over to the police. And they are blood pressure medicine to relax blood vessels so that you can get more oxygen to your parts. Tritinoin cream, I don't know, some kind of cream, 45 grams of it though. The disoxylene mono, 20 tablets, and some other tablets for blood pressure. So somebody's blood pressure is funky and somebody either has a skin allergy or some kind of infection or something going on. I'm going to touch on that later too. It's very important. Very important. So anyway, those prescriptions were in Shaun Powell's name at Kirk's house, and the lady turned him over. So we have ID of the Shaun Powell, but he doesn't get mentioned or interviewed. I mean, he gets mentioned in the file plenty, but never interviewed. So if he's that important of a character, where is he? Okay. Here it is. One of the doctors there said that that Prince's manager and bodyguard and the younger, attractive, light-skinned female, and again, not trying to be rude, but that was the look-alike girl that he had, and Natalia Phillips. It wasn't Judith Hill, because you wouldn't describe her as a young, attractive, light-skinned female. She's got to be, I mean, she was there when Michael Jackson died. So, I mean, she's got to be pushing 50 at least, if not over. That's not a young, light-skinned female. So, okay. And then anyway, he described the bodyguard, your typical bodyguard, big guy in a suit. Okay. So, and then there was Kirk too. So it's all body doubles. Staying on track, y'all. It's hard for me. I get excited. Anyway, on to the video evidence, you guys, because everybody knows that TMZ, and there's that same very strange picture of PK or whoever it is look-alike in all black clothing where you can't even see the face, and we have all this technology in the world, and yet there he is pacing outside of Walgreens waiting for drugs. Yeah. Okay. So What they don't tell you is that when the evidence is discussed in the file, that the officers, again, able to find the evidence from the 14th at the Walgreens in Bloomington. Okay, now on the 14th, and I'll get to it in a minute when we discuss Schulenberg and that, there was no actual appointment. Nobody actually went to the doctor. It was a phone call, text, and a prescription that Dr. Schulenberg ended up saying that Kirk had to pick up in person. So anyway, there was video from that pickup, which we just discussed, in Bloomington. So isn't that interesting that Shaun Powell's original address is in Bloomington? The next video that they actually have, you guys, they go on to discuss that the second video shows Kirk alone during the appointment with, this is how it reads, with Schulenberg and Prince. He's on video at the 4950 County Road, Minnetonka, Walgreens. They showed the video of them arriving. They're arriving about 5:06 is what the CCTV video shows, and this one concurs. But what they don't tell you in the media either is that Kirk left that appointment with Schulenberg and Prince, and at 5:49 was on video at that Walgreens. They don't tell you that. Now, same video, same Walgreens at 7:04, which is that TMZ video that we all see, and what they don't tell you though, too, you guys, is that on the other side of that Walgreens that they show on the TMZ videos is Bremer Bank. So, whether it was who's standing there, we don't know. Obviously, everybody's misidentified in this case, but a lot of people don't know that's just on the other side of that. However, there's 3 videos of Kirk, and yet we see one of Prince pacing because he was so desperate for his drugs, because that's how the media works. I actually did the timing to figure out if he could make it back to all the places on time, and he could, because so this makes me laugh. So let me get past my notes here. So why did Kirk leave the appointment, you guys? Well, as I discussed on some of the other videos, and I'll touch on again, Kirk supposedly, the way the story is told, left to get clonidine. Okay, so here you have this person who is supposedly having withdrawal issues or this or that or the other. And I don't know who's watching this or how much you know about withdrawal issues, but you do not prescribe clonidine, hydroxine, and Valium. You just don't. I've taken my daughter to a lot of rehab clinics. We've been through this, okay? So it doesn't go down the way that they said. It's just really a sickening joke, and I will pull myself back on track in a minute. So 1 minute, you guys. Bloomington. Let me jump back to the 7th. You guys, I want to talk about something for a second, because this whole thing in the media, they start talking about how the concert was canceled on the 7th because Prince had the flu. Okay. It's still sold that way on the prince.org website or whatever. I discussed it the other day. But when we read about the 7th, you guys, the texts that are available and all the research that I've done, the way that it comes across is to me, it comes across that everything that happened kind of happened real quick between the 19th and the 21st. The stuff that was happening before that on the 7th and the 14th, well, it actually just involved the Prince Kirk, because when you read all the texts and do all the research, well, and I discussed it before, so I don't want to be redundant, but I want to touch on some of the things that were actually done on the 7th per Dr. Schulenberg's report and per the police reports and everything, because it's important to understand that it just wasn't as they sold, and we're going to expose the plan little by little. They want you to believe that on the 7th that Kirk texted Dr. Schulenberg, and Dr. Schulenberg responded to Paisley Park by 6:45. That's what they admit to in the files. So, okay, you're texting your doctor that early in the morning, then he's responding at 6:45. Try to keep these times in your head. He arrives, he does a physical, and Kirk asked for fluids for Prince, and Dr. Schulenberg said, I can't do that here at Paisley Park, and then transported. The file says transported, and I'll get to that later because it's not, so I went a little bit out of order. Every word counts, because the one file says that Dr. Schulenberg transported because he couldn't do fluids at Paisley Park. So then they transported to the clinic on the 7th, which again is the same clinic that they want us to believe that they used on the 20th. So why don't we get to see the video evidence from the 7th? Okay, because I'll tell you why. Because when they took him into North Memorial, it says that he took him to his office at 154 Highway, Minnetonka. Later that morning, Kirk brought Prince to North Memorial Clinic. So I don't even know if they're talking about two different clinics right there. I'm not sure. Now, also, Marone met them. She met them there. Where is she on video? Why does she never get talked about in the media? Okay, so they place an IV, and then the Prince left with Marone. That's what it says. We don't get told what happened to Kirk. I don't have the actual thing right now. I have to go in order, I'm telling you. So he gave him IV medication. He transported him. He did this. He did that on the 7th. They canceled the concert because the drugs went awry. You guys, the drugs that they were trying just went awry. Let's just call it what it is. It didn't work out. These are the things that they don't tell you. Dr. Schulenberg noted that Kirk Prince called him on the 8th and said that he had seen a chiropractor on the 7th and that new symptoms had developed. So not only do we have him canceling the concerts on the 7th, seeing Dr. Schulenberg at Paisley Park and North Memorial, if that's 15450 or if that's a different place, I don't know. And then he calls back the next day. Sorry, I lost my place. Oh, and so he saw a chiro on the 7th and new symptoms developed. But what's interesting about the 7th, you guys, too, because in the other part of the media investigation, I believe it said that a notary came. I think it might be in the Dan Pipe and Bringing the Beautiful Ones book. They said that a notary came and gave a one-time, somebody gave power of attorney to Phaedra for a one-time power of attorney to sign the book deal, which is nonsense because the Prince Rogers Nelson that we know, who are you going to give here's my power of attorney to sign a book deal, please. That was the same night, I believe, is what they said they saw the chiropractor. So all these things, man, I don't make them up. I'd have to have some wild imagination. Anyway, so the new symptoms developed, tingling hands, blah, blah, blah. Now, I want to get to some juicy stuff, you guys. If you saw my precursor on Facebook or whatever, you see that the CVS bottles that are shown on the media. There's a bottle for, I believe it's Ondan Citron and vitamin D for Kirk, Zofran and vitamin D. And Zofran, I believe, is anti-nausea, and then you got the vitamin D. Now, CVS Pharmacy never gets mentioned in the investigation in the files, but what's interesting to know is that appointment at the 212 Ridgeview on 10/23 of 13, I read it before. I don't have it handy before. The doctor that saw Prince that night said that he declined Zofran because he wanted to be as natural as possible, and they infused with vitamin D. So the prescriptions that were in the CVS bottles in Kirk Johnson's name are the same things that the doctor offered at the ER on the 13th, on 10/23/13, if you get my drift. Same person, same prescriptions. So also on that, you guys, there's also, if you read through the files, and I have it here again, but I'm trying to stay in order. There's also CVS bottles noted around Paisley Park being found that have vitamins. They say vitamin C on them in Kirk Johnson's name, in the same room where the Peter Braveheart suitcase with the hair dye is. And in those vitamin C pill bottles are not vitamin C, but those are the pills that they found that were marked with the hydrocodone stamp. And I'll show you where it actually reads later. So to the best of my knowledge and recall right now, that's the only time within the file that you really hear them talk about hydrocodone. They want you to believe that he was taking fentanyl-laced hydrocodone the whole time, but it wasn't that. It's they were Kirk's vitamin C bottle. So we'll get to that in a little bit. So Schulenberg, you guys, he's making notes. His notes read like this on the 14th. Excuse me, on the 20th. Well, let me backtrack. Schulenberg said that he saw Prince on the 7th. He gave him the fluids IV, and that he didn't see him on the 14th, that Kirk just called and asked if he could get some hip pain medicine for his boss, even though he noted in the hospital file that it was for back pain, and he went over axial alarm symptoms, and because Kirk had been a patient for 16 years, he would have to come and get the one-time only script for back pain. But then he called and said it was for hip pain. So again, you guys, it depends on which file you're reading. I'm trying to put them together. So anyway, what I'm getting at is the notes that Schulenberg took on the 20th in the file. He's seeing Kirk again, and he's complaining of what they call withdrawal symptoms. Now, if some dirt went down on the 19th, 419, 19, 14, 419, as we've discussed before, then the 20th, then KP starts having opiate withdrawal symptoms because, well, we'll get to that later. But anyway, Dr. Schulenberg, you guys, he said that Prince said that he took a Tylenol. And Schulenberg said, are there any other ingredients in the Tylenol? And then he went on to note, I have learned from third-party sources that if indeed the Tylenol contains other ingredients, something about opiate withdrawal symptoms. So on the 18th and 19th, if you go on and look at the texts that are available online between Kirk and Schulenberg, there's a couple of them that's, there's one that says, Doc, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. And it's on the 18th, as you can tell from the discussion. And Dr. Schulenberg said that Kirk called him on the 18th and exposed to him that he found out that Prince had an opiate problem. And then at the end of the text that's available, it says, see you tomorrow. So Kirk's going to see Dr. Schulenberg tomorrow on the 19th when he couldn't even remember if he saw Prince on the 18th or the 17th, as we discussed in the other videos. Yeah. So, Schulenberg, you guys, he's so dirty in this. Like, I hesitate to call people dirty because I don't know, if some people like were really trying to help or had the wool pulled over their eyes, or if they, I don't know. But those texts, what I'm trying to get at in the long version is that I feel like after all this stuff went down, they had a deceased rigged body on their hands, and I think that's why they kept asking for fluids. And I think that what they were doing to the Prince Rogers Nelson had something to do with the Prince Kirk double. And as I will go on to expose in other videos, and I've told you before, when Patrick Murphy is interviewing Andrew Kornfeld, he's actually getting on Andrew for interfering, not yeah, so people were trying to interfere, and that's what they're trying to figure out. So slightly off track, but my point is, I feel like because of the way they took these texts and turned them and twist them, that when these texts that they show started coming in, I believe they all might have had to do with the 20th, and they want us to believe that it was the 7th through the 20th because of the 1777 timeline. You got the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st, 777, as we've discussed. So I want to lay out on the text again. I know I've done it before. On the 20th, Schulenberg said at 8:17 p.m., he got a call from Phaedra. Okay, he saw Prince on the 20th, blah, blah, blah. And at 8:17 at night, he got a call from Phaedra. And they talked for 11 minutes. And Phaedra wanted to know if Dr. Schulenberg would be the doctor of record for Howard Kornfeld. So Howard Kornfeld's Recovery Without Walls offers 24-hour in-home care. So because Phaedra had lived in California, Recovery Without Walls was in California, I believe, well, also her sister had care with him. that she called to see if Dr. Schulenberg would be willing to do it that way. So she talked with him for 11 minutes. And then after they hung up, Dr. Schulenberg texted Kirk to say, hey, I just got a call from Phaedra. Is it legit? Literally says, is it legit? You can see the trash bag hanging down. It's kind of cool. Anyway, then as I've discussed, you guys, the text at 9:38 of the back stairs comes in from Kirk to Dr. Schulenberg. 9:38. He just had a phone conversation with Phaedra. The text of the stairs comes in at 9:38. 10:47, the second call from Phaedra and Howard Kornfeld come in. Okay, so he takes that and talks with them for a while. And then at 11:12, Kirk texts again saying sorry about the stairs. But Dr. Schulenberg said he didn't see those pictures until the morning of the 21st. But that's a lie because he was up talking to them on the phone at 10:47 and clearly would have seen the text that came through at 9:38. And if he said he didn't, y'all know you'd be lying when you say you don't see people's texts because everybody looks at their phone. So that's a lie. So what I'm saying is the other texts that go on to say between Kirk and Dr. Schulenberg, which gate to meet me at, it says, I need back in. And then when you go through the phone records, you can see all the timing that Schulenberg actually arrives and texts him and says, I need back in. He says, how long are you going to be there? It's about 9:30 in the morning, 9:40, around the time that Andrew Kornfeld said that Kirk went and then came back and got Marone was right around that time because if he got there at 9:15 was in the room for 15 minutes or so. That would be long enough for them to fiddle around with the back gates and the back doors and their little text saying that they needed back in. So the thing is, the media will tell you that Dr. Schulenberg either in the one file says he was there just by coincidence, but the other file will say that he was there to bring medical records. But why would he need to bring medical records when his own file says that there's mild anemia and nothing else? When asked under his testimony, he said in the Ridgeview file, there was nothing but mild anemia. You won't find anything there. So what files are you rushing over? I mean, I'm just asking. Now, so then the officer goes on to talk to Schulenberg, and he said he didn't prescribe anything on the 7th. He prescribed the 14th, or excuse me, the Percocet on the 14th. And on the 20th, he prescribed clonidine, hydroxyne, and Valium. And then he says, oh, I take that back. On the 7th, I prescribed Zofran and vitamin D to Kirk Johnson in Kirk Johnson's name because it wasn't a narcotic or opiate, stating he didn't prescribe it on the 7th. So, again, look at the CVS pictures of the suitcase and the stuff that they have. And as I discussed, the incident report shows the same medicines from 1023. Okay. In the file, it reads this. Dr. Schulenberg says this really goofy statement. He says at 8:15 in the morning, well, first here's that text that I've discussed, the sinister text. It says, at 8:15 in the morning, I texted Kirk to see if he was still in town. Okay, well, Kirk, right, was so concerned about Prince being a drug addict. Well, why would he not be in town? So Dr. Schulenberg texted him at 8:15 to see if he was still in town. Kirk texted him back and said, I'm just here with Prince, waiting for him to wake up to give him something to take the edge off. So then at 8:17, those other calls and texts start. So what I'm saying is through the trickery of media and the programming, they probably finagled all those texts, and all of these things that they say took place between the 19th, 20th, and 21st in the morning because everybody's lying, as you can see. Anyway, Dr. Schulenberg says he went into his office at 8:15, and I quote, to finish my documentation on the note. A doctor, to finish my documentation on the note. Okay, sir, what note was that? But you know what his notes read? Recent onset symptoms, 57-year-old patient vomiting overnight, did feel cold overnight, numbness, tingling overnight in the right leg, does not seem to wake up like expected. History of hip pain, IV fluid relieved these symptoms last time. That's all it says. So I found it interesting that nowhere else in his files did he make notations for overnight, except for the notations that he went in to finish on his note on the 7th, that they all noted that the patient was cold and 3 times they said the word overnight, which I found very interesting. So, also interesting, you guys, that any doctor worth anything would not put history of hip pain as he saw said patient on the 7th and noted the same thing, history of hip pain, doesn't notate hip surgery, just hip pain. So I don't know what kind of doctor you're seeing that doesn't know that you had hip surgery as compared to hip pain. And as I discussed in the other videos, Richard Peloquin, I believe his name was said to have told us that Dr. Isaacson, no, that was the chiropractor, Dr. somebody at the Mayo Clinic did the hip surgery. Can't remember the name right now. My brain gets like a computer when it comes to this stuff, you guys. It's been going on a lot longer than I knew. You know, all the stuff that I would see and hear in my past and joke with my girls about, you know, my grandkids would laugh. You know, I didn't know it was really ever going to all come together like this. And I'm just so grateful that it did, because it gives me something to do with this. But again, how can it not be my purpose, right? I mean, obviously it is, because, you know, I don't know if people think that back in the day, like say for instance, when Elvis passed, like if people probably think, well, if there was computers or this or that, anybody could do that or that or that. Well, no, it's not that yet. Anybody can slice and dice a file, but to get, you know, all the other knowledge in Hebrew and afterlife experience and all the inner workings of the situation is, again, the more I share, the more I get. So it's pretty big. Appreciate you guys listening to me ramble. I wanted to notate again for those that missed it. Prince Kirk, the drug seeker, the doctor shopper. Dr. Boo, we're going to discuss her in a minute, because you don't ever hear about her in the media. She's not even a doctor. She's a dentist. And not even a dentist, a practitioner dentist, who only one other time they say through going through her files did she prescribe Xanax for somebody, some old lady. That's what it says. So anyway, the thing that's interesting about that, as I discussed on the Kirky J video, is that at 12:46 on 4/14, Kirk leaves her a 12-minute and 41-second voicemail. Okay. She then texts him back, as you can see online. She gets in the office after 2. She also said that Kirk had to pick up his prescription in person. And she's way up in Bear something, Minnesota. I can't think of the address right now. White Bear something. Again, with the lookalike Shaun or Renville or somebody, you could see how they could manage picking up all these prescriptions on the 14th. The Percocet from Dr. Schulenberg, talking with Dr. Boo on the 14th. The 12-minute voicemail at 12:46, and then she returning, and then the text. And then the other interesting thing, in case you missed it on the other one, at 5 p.m., Dr. Boo leaves a 5-minute incoming voicemail. Kirk calls Dr. Schulenberg, 7-minute voicemails. You know, all this stuff's going on the 14th, but there is no doctor's appointment for Prince. So where is he? Where's Prince Rogers Nelson in this whole thing? You know, golly gee, I don't know. He's so private, he doesn't have a phone or even a personality or anything to work with anymore. They're just making up a story behind your back. And, you know, I feel kind of vehement about that, about telling the truth. I hope I said that right. It makes me a little angry, but I try not to be. In case you guys are questioning the video evidence that I go through and I notate all this stuff so that I can share it with you in a certain order. But, you know, it goes on to say at 13:30 hours, drove to Walgreens, yada, yada, to check if they had video of Kirk Johnson picking up medications of Prince or a Prince at the scene. I was advised by store manager and loss prevention, that they could not release the video. They advised that they did have the video, but management had locked the video so no associate could view or release it. Yada, yada, yada. It gets very boring. But the subpoena was given, yada, yada. And the first video was from Walgreens. And then it goes on to discuss the addresses and things that I said. It's all right there. In case you're questioning anything that I have to say, it's all right there in the file. Just putting it together in an orderly fashion for you. I love you. Oh, here it is about the CVS bottles too, you guys. This will be fun. Detective Nelson collected all the towels and bedding from Prince's bedroom. DEA, blah, 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 collected the same black suitcase from the original search warrant where the 2 bottles of medication and Kirk Johnson's name were located. The tag on the suitcase read Pretty Brave Strong, which if you read the Beautiful Ones book, as I discussed when he's there, it's the last time when they say that Apollonia died when he was in Australia. Same name. They said it was an undercover name, but it was Kirk's name, and everybody had the password of the computer. Yeah. Anyway, when it sorry. Lombardi located 2 CVS brand vitamin C bottles. During a closer examination, Lombardi noted one of the bottles contained 27 white oblong pills stamped Watson 853 Norco. The second bottle contained 49 whole pills and 3 half-white oblong pills stamped Watson 853, which we knew from the original warrant was believed to be hydrocodone from the web search, blah, blah, blah. The contents of the 2 vitamin bottles were believed to be missed during the initial search warrant. So, were they missed? Were they planted? I mean, I don't know. So anyway, that's the only time pretty much when you're reading through the whole file that they mention Norco or hydrocodone, yet the whole media mass lie is sold on the fact that Prince was taking a long history of, since 2010, same year that I had my life after life. Imagine that. This medication, okay? And that's just not the way it went down. So there's that, just so you know. So he was keeping it in his vitamin C bottles. Sorry about that. Here's some things about Kirk I wanted to share with you guys. When he's being interviewed, you know, after all this drug seeking and doctor shopping and all this stuff, Kirk said he did not know if Prince had a prescription and did not have any other information regarding where Prince was obtaining the pain medication. Kirk told me the doctor who was in the lobby when we arrived was actually Kirk's doctor. Again, you know how fun that reads. Kirk told me the doctor who was in the lobby when we arrived was actually Kirk's doctor, Dr. Mike Schulenberg, and that Kirk contacted Dr. Schulenberg for Prince last week because Kirk was concerned about Prince's health after the incident on the plane. Kirk explained Prince was a night guy who was very private, even from Kirk. Yet Kirk knows everything about his life and can do all his doctor's appointments and shares information with Phaedra and Howard Kornfeld and break HIPAA laws and do all that other stuff. So if he was very private, even from Kirk, I mean, hey, so private he doesn't even exist, like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Jeez. Kirk explained Prince was a night guy who was very private, even from Kirk. Kirk said Prince would be sending texts or emails. Yes, folks, sending texts or emails at 2 or 3 a.m. I later asked Kirk about Prince having a cell phone because of the phrase text or emails. Kirk denied Prince owned a cell phone. And as we know, Ray Roberts himself said that the biggest joke was that Prince didn't own a cell phone because he was always so quick to respond to said emails and texts and so forth. So anyway, there's that. Oh, here we go. Kirk said he took Prince to 212 Ridgeview Emergency Center a few years ago when Prince was complaining that he was really dehydrated and needed fluids. That would be 10/23/13, the day that the incident reports that a rig from Chaska came and took Prince to the ER, transported him to a gurney to a bed. The EMS goes on. I think I have it in here somewhere. And then so he said, Kirk said he took Prince to the 212 Ridgeview Emergency Center a few years ago, blah, blah. He believed he believed Prince was fine after that. He said that Prince looked a little frail, but he always kind of goes up and down, and that he was a very good eater, blah, blah, blah. But we all know that Prince Roger Johnson was quoted as saying, I eat light. We know you are what you eat, and I eat light. Patti LaBelle, I believe, said that she would see him just smell his food. It didn't go down like that. Wasn't a really good eater. Anyway, and then the doctor on the 20 the 10-23-13 visit also said that it was obvious that because of his high white blood count and bicarbs and this and that, and I don't know them off the top of my head, it was obvious that he wasn't eating for a while. And also Ray Roberts says that they were trying to offer options to keep him healthy, to keep food and liquids in him. So again, which Kirk or which Prince are you talking about, people? We discussed all the plane landing and the time differences. I'm going to hit you with it again in case you missed it. On 4/14, in reviewing Kirk's cell phone records during the morning of 4/14, he's contacting Dr. Schulenberg to get the Percocet. He's contacting Dr. Boo to get the the Tylenol 3 with codeine. He's contacting Jeff Villar from Let's Roll Film and Video, Lori Johnson, his ex-wife, Monique Linder from Oh My God Media Solutions to get the models over, the lookalikes. S&S Auto Repair, Joshua Welton, Marone, Marilyn Coulter with Bremer Bank, Phaedra, and some other people. And then it says Kirk Johnson also had made contact with two doctors, Dr. Mike Schulenberg and dentist Sarah Boo, where Kirk obtained the two controlled substances, one from each doctor. So as you read the file, you can see that they make it sound like he's only getting the two and that's it. And, blah, blah, blah. So we know that that's highly inaccurate. Now, Kornfeld, Recovery Without Walls, and Andrew Kornfeld, the millennial, they, through much discovery and research, also use Suboxone and different mind-altering drugs to bring about what they're doing now with nasal spray and DMT and whatever else. But anyway, Schulenberg said that when Kornfeld and Phaedra called back, that they were seeing if he would be the doctor on record and that they were seeking to find out if he could prescribe. He said the medication was Suboxone, but he cannot prescribe it because he has not gone through the training for prescribing it. Said that Schulenberg was in California as an addiction medicine specialist. Blah, blah, blah. We discussed that and the phone calls. Really what I do is I just want to make sure I touched on everything and I have some more for you. All the things that I discussed with you before, I go through and tag and note so that I can try to, make sure that I'm exposing as much to you guys as I can. Now, what's interesting, too, is under testimony here, Schulenberg states that he prescribed the prescription on the 14th, and then he says his next contact with Prince was the 21st, and this is what the officer says. According to Schulenberg, his next contact with Prince was on the 21st of April. Note, Prince passed on 4/21/16, and Schulenberg says in the recording that it was yesterday, which would have been 4/20/16. Schulenberg said he was contacted again via text message from Kirk. Schulenberg says he talked with Kirk on Wednesday about having Prince come in for some blood work at 7. Schulenberg said Kirk got in touch with him again on April 20th, and Kirk brought Prince to the Highway 7 medical building at 5 for blood work. Do you see that you would really need to go back and listen to that about 10 times to hear what I just said? Because even I don't know what I just said. That's how they do this, lying in plain sight, because people don't have the patience for this, but because I do. So Schulenberg then said, in the interim, I had learned from Kirk, who stated to me that he had just learned this concern that Prince was using opiates. I asked if Kirk told him how much Prince was using, and Schulenberg said he did not know. So first of all, what's the interim? The 7th to the 20th, the 7th to the 14th, the 18th, come on. So I'm going to keep going. So as not to be redundant, here's another I asked Schulenberg if someone from here requested his presence, Paisley Park, and he said no. Schulenberg said it was a complete coincidence that he showed up at Paisley Park to meet with Prince to discuss substance abuse treatment. That's on the other file. Complete coincidence. Now, you guys, I touched on all these things in the various videos, but again, I know people don't have time to watch them all. You got Charlene Hayes going to retrieve the Aunt Charlene Hayes going to retrieve the 3 bottles that were actually in Prince Rogers Nelson's name from Kirk Johnson's house on Red Fox Circle in their medicine cabinet. So never was there a possession of narcotics or any other kind of medication in Prince Rogers Nelson's name, person, luggage, bedding, anywhere, but they want us to believe that he died from 67.8 mcgs per liter of blood of fentanyl. And that is because, well, I've discussed that elsewhere. We're going to leave that up for you guys to decide. What's interesting, too, here, where's the part I want you? Oh, here goes Dr. Schulenberg. Sorry, sometimes I fall into that slang. Dr. Schulenberg's note read, I learned the following from Dr. Schulenberg's note as he wrote them. Patient is a 57-year-old male who presents with a friend today, Kirk Johnson, for feeling antsy. Symptoms started today. He thinks it might be related to stopping Tylenol, the last of which he took this morning. When questioned if the Tylenol contained any other ingredients, he stated he did not know. Independent sources have informed me that Tylenol also contains hydrocodone. What independent sources would that be, Dr. Schulenberg? Would that be Kirk when he called you on the 18th and said, see you tomorrow, which would have been the 19th? Which was the last day anybody saw anybody alive, which we discussed Kim Pratt and Larry Graham and Prince, and nobody knows where anybody was, and it's all a big lie. Were they at Calhoun Beach Club having dinner with the family and then renting out the movie theater after that? Now we got Dr. Schulenberg and Kirk saying, see you tomorrow. So in the interim, he learned by independent sources that the Tylenol also contains hydrocodone. So there's that. And he also says denies any pain except some mild discomfort in the hip, which again, you'd think you'd know the difference between hip surgery and hip pain. So anyway, just to show you that it's not made up. Also, what I thought was interesting too, you guys, is the hospital said that they changed all the records for Kirk and Prince to Peter Vang, V-A-N-G, and sorry, I forgot the other name. That they changed the names in the hospital records so that the hospital staff wouldn't read them. So again, shady, man, just super shady. You don't just get to go change people's hospital records like that. So, you guys, again, some of it might be a little redundant, but I need to stay on it because how disgusted should we be that the media, like I say, TMZ and magazines and articles like that, it's like the articles have actually gotten worse. If you go online and you click on them, they actually have one using Prince as the poster child for the rehab. I don't know which rehab it is, and it's not worth mentioning. But this detective, Chris Nelson, goes on to say, the parties I escorted when they were there, they were talking about getting there, said they escorted in and started my first interview, who arrived on scene at Prince's residence. Now, you guys, I told you before, there's Paisley Park and there's the Paisley Park residence. Now, go look at Paisley Park. You have the front entrance with the big door where it actually spells out AI on the door. AI, artificial intelligence, and or 21 upside down if you use a little old-fashioned A. I've explained it in the gematria videos. But on the back door, you guys, around the back, there's like that little guarded cemented wall. And there's 2 doors right there. And then if you go around the back of that, where the tour bus is at, and the little storage container would be next to that, that's, I believe, what the residents, and I kind of remember, I only hesitate because I never want to be wrong, but in my life after life, when I met the one that we're talking about here, the creator, Prince Rogers Nelson, he not only showed himself to me as all those things that we talked about before, but he also showed me that he was really just like alone and like a slave, like alone, all the time alone, unless they needed him for something. And he didn't like dress fancy or anything like that. And he wore just like sack clothing, like just very simple clothing. And I know I just got over there on that, but it happens. Streaming when I wrote this. I forgot my point, you guys. It's all the stuff that I get told. I come here. It's joy and repetition. I have to be redundant with you. And the questions that I'm getting now are, what is the plan? Well, this is the plan. The plan was the breakdown. The breakdown. I'm going to jump into that in a second. But I wanted to tell you something about. I asked about medical records, and if I would have to go to through North Memorial, and I was advised I would. Pardon me. Schulenberg said there was virtually nothing there. Schulenberg said they did do lab tests, and the only remarkable thing was mild anemia. So if that, in fact, is factual from that Dr. Schulenberg, well, why was he rushing over the files to Paisley Park? Why was he there by coincidence? Why was he getting and texting with Kirk to get back in between 9:30 and 9:40? You know, I know people might come here to get answers, and I could say, oh, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. But what fun would that be? I'm leaving it up to you guys, because really I have the divine knowledge and inspiration, but I don't get all the answers. I have to figure it out just the same as you guys do. I just do a lot of work. I want to touch on the breakdown, you guys. I could do a whole video on it itself, and I will. I'm probably just going to touch on it here before this one gets too long, but it's really important. I get shy. I get really shy because it's very personal. And I know that people still don't believe me. I know that it's hard to believe. I get it. Like, I get it, you guys. I do. But what you don't get is that the way I understand it, the way I hear it is, I didn't like literally die. I went to heaven with my body. I went with my soul. I had conversations. I was floored. I cried when he showed himself to me. I wanted to run and scream and go hide in the other room. It wasn't this big love affair. It was that too, but it was humiliating. And part of the reason I do this is because I know that these things are changing and these things that are coming. And you guys can sit back and assume you know who God is, or who you have been told he is, or taught he is, or whatever else. But until you're standing there, you don't know nothing. And I don't mean to be rude. I'm just telling you, I'm kind of sick and tired of being knocked, because I'm trying to tell you that balls to the wall, you guys, because what kind of person would I be to come here and lie? What kind of person would I be to come here and make this stuff up, to do all this work, to diss my own family, to diss my own life, to not, like, it's like I'm in prison in my house. I love it. I'm not complaining, but when you're given your life back, all of my life is now for a purpose, and is to expose the Creator. And the timing, everything, it'll come to you guys. You'll come to see. And when you stand in front of him and the other angels that are there protecting him, and he asks you what your name is, and you go blank because all you can think of is all the lies and all the dirt that you haven't exposed to him yet. You don't have to like visualize him as Prince, the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Prince when you're praying. Just, he's everything, you guys. He's the sustainer. He's a reincarnated soul, as are we all. That's part of the big lie from the real legions, the KKK. That's who Kirk is working for. That's who Dr. Schulenberg is working for. It's white supremacy. They rule the kingdoms. That's what he told me, is that the real legions were all false. They were all lies. And if anybody said they had the truth, they were lying. Okay, but now all of a sudden I'm so brave in my life, I can just come here and say that out of nowhere. Well, yeah, I can, because I know he's with me, and I know he told me to say it. End of story. I am sent me. I am. I don't question. Am I? You shouldn't either. When the breakdown, when I heard on 421, when I heard the song Breakdown, as I discussed, the song set off something in me that I had never experienced before in all the years that I'd listened to the music, and I knew something was going to happen and that the person was going to be broke down. And I just want to flip through a couple things. I'm not going to get too far into it because the video is already over an hour. This is what started happening when I heard in 2020 the song Breakdown. I started doing all the deciphering I show in the videos and then some. Okay, I would write down the word BREA, breakdown, in separate ways, all kinds of different ways to try to figure out what was going on. And you can see it told me the famous Rekisto. Well, why is it Rekisto, you guys? Why is it 69 in the middle? Because as I've discussed in the Eckankauer video, it's the 69, the egg, the ek. See in the middle? Ek, Rekka. It's Eckankauer center. Why is he always singing about lady cab driver using another person's car? Eckankauer, Rekisto. It's where there's dirt going on. It's the facility. It's where the family is from. And again, I don't mean to insult any single one person that may attend there, follow them, have their relations there. They might be spiritually fulfilled there. In fact, I don't doubt if they were, because they're doing shady stuff over there. But it's fake. So anyway, this is the kind of things that started happening. Okay. You can see that even as I wrote, that I would get codes turning into 1776 and the 9-1 and the 6-1 and different things. It goes on and on. Trust and believe. Next page, I would write it again because what was happening, I was like, I know it has something to do with the breakdown. So I'd write it again. I started getting 69. I want to discuss this with you. It's really important because it's what the next video is going to be about. It started telling me these things. You can see for yourself. The date, the 69 started becoming 6666, which if you turn upside down is June of 2022, which is this June. It's another date that I've been hearing amongst with the other dates. And I'll explain to you why, because it has to do with when the song Breakdown was actually first heard, released, and played by DJ Rashida and stuff like that. It's all part of the program. So then you can see that these things would just happen. It would turn into the E. It would tell me East European Union, 69, 808, the infinity symbol, Eve, egg, opioid, the RFID symbol, COVID-19, AI. Those are the things that would happen. This is very early on in 2020. You can see that I wrote plectrum, electrum. It told me electrocute, electric murder. Again, with the Da Vinci, the sacrifice of Victor, as you can see. COVID, devoid. See how close the words are. Okay. Now, this really goes on and on. I don't know if it's interesting to you guys or not. This, I would write the word elevator because as we knew, don't let the elevator bring you down. You can see within the word elevator right here. What do you have? 666, 69, elevator, center. You guys, this whole thing is a plan. Vatican, Antifa, anti-family, white supremacy, cream, CERN, CERN, 1383. I discussed it with you guys, but I want to show you something else. From that scramble came, oh, this is the wrong book. No, it's not. Last night I was doing this, and I hesitate to share them because they're so personal, but I have to get you guys to believe. So based on the slideshows, the word breakdown, I mean, in the maps that I drew, I went to sleep listening to the musicology CD, those kind of things would come to me. And then this is last night. So I sit down. Oops, I guess it's coming out. I sit down last night and I wrote breakdown. Okay. So BR becomes 1-3. R becomes 1-2. EA is 6-9. And then K is 17. Now, if you look at it like that, you get, again, the ek. It's Rekisto. It's Eckankauer. It's the breakdown. Now, the numbers I know probably don't mean much to you guys, but they do to me. Because as you continue to follow them down here, what I wrote down, listen to me on this, because next video. The contract with Warner Brothers, which Prince Rogers Nelson or Prince was said to have signed on 12/31/12, 2012, pardon me. On New Year's Eve 2012 at 11:57, he signed the new contract with Warner Brothers. So I write all these things down. Okay, you can see 12/31/12, 11:57. Now, on 1/19/13, DJ Rashida first played Breakdown at their party. Okay, if you take 119, of course, with the 19s, the 119, 911, 13 when they were doing the dirt at Paisley Park. So then it's PIE, pie. You see, it's the whole thing. So they played it. Then June, before there was a Third Eye Girl chat show in which the moderator or somebody had mentioned, or somebody doing the chat show, it was on 6/22/13, had mentioned that recording for Breakdown had taken place that evening, 6/22/13. Well, that can't be because the song had already been played and released. But what's interesting here, you guys, is, and sorry about the Facebook screen, you guys, it's hard to do both. Let me find it. Sorry. Oh, 6/22/13. What do you get when you don't look at the 13? Egg. 6/22 upside down. Do you see how the writing shows to me in backwards upside down writing? So 6/22 is actually 666 as well as egg. Now 13, as I described in the other video, is love in Hebrew. And if the number 13 is such a bad luck number, then no such thing as luck. It also breaks down into the word apple, APPLE. Okay. So is it any coincidence that they said that it was being recorded that night because they were doing shady stuff? No. Now, he went on Arsenio on March 14th of 14, which is 314, which is pi. The pi equals 314, which is 314. Here, pi equals 314 with a 666 in between. Okay? I did some tallies down there, and you can see it says, Will I am. So the breakdown, you guys, has told me many, 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 many things. And just in case you forgot, I do my research. This is what happens when we do our Hebrew research. Lots of different things are exposed to me, you guys. It's no jive, okay? What I'm trying to sell you. I'm not selling anything. I'm telling the truth. Also, I want to show you a couple things on the breakdown. I should save them for the breakdown video, but I'll show you and then I'll go because it's kind of long. You can see that I had my own little special section for breakdown in this book. And these are all the various. Sorry, I wanted to show you the picture. Where'd it go? It's really embarrassing, but I'm going to show you. I was watching the 2013 Montreal, Canada, I believe it was, concert where he did the breakdown. And I have some stills where you can tell it's not him and everything else like that. But I was watching the concert and I saw that the prince on there was crying. And that one eye had something wrong with it. And so I drew this picture because the tears seem to be saying evil or I live. So, the word evil is I live or live, think about it. So I know there's a lot of glare there, but that's just a real quick picture that I drew of him sitting at the piano playing. And you can see that it wrote pi, I am, I live. And this is all done very quick as I was watching the video. Okay. And you can see the CI and stuff like that. This has been going on a very long time, almost 2 years now, you guys, and here I sit still, humbly trying to tell you what I know, and that is that our Creator wishes to be exposed. He felt like, for whatever reason, we discussed it when I was there in my life after life, that I was the only one to do it. I'm blessed. I'm not going to stop. It'll never stop, no matter what anybody says about me, no matter what anybody doesn't believe, because I'm not here to force anything at you. I'm here to tell you what I know so that you can talk to your Creator, even if you did before and you just didn't know that you could put a face or a thought, or, if you want to get to know Him, what do? Start with the music. Go get Emancipation and listen to the second CD. It has all the slower songs on it. Holy River, Soul Sanctuary, Joint to Joint. It's not slow, but One Kiss at a Time, Dreaming About You. Listen to Venus de Milo. Listen to Power Fantastic. You know, that's who Prince Rogers Nelson was. The other wannabe that they implemented as part of this plan and part of this breakdown, unfortunately, you know, they just don't know how to be themselves and comfortable in their own skin. And because of who the Creator created me to be, I am comfortable in my own skin. And thank you, you guys, for listening. All I can say is please continue to share the videos. I'm going to fully discuss the breakdown more. I don't always know exactly what to say because, man, it was the last time I looked, it was like 85 subscribers and almost 80 videos. So there's like a video for every person. But share them, you guys, because I'm just here to share the truth. That's all. I want you to love him, and you already do. So I know, like I said early on, everybody's relationship with their music, with their Prince Rogers Nelson is like so personal. All the females be all protective, you know, all the dudes all hardcore about their bootlegs and, you know, whatever else. But everybody's really super protective of it. And that's because when you're a listener, you know, true, you know, Prince Rogers was known for saying that anybody that listened to his music for the years will know what he was trying to say. Don't be mad at me. I'm not here to try to steal anybody's shine. I'm not, you guys. I wish to share information with everybody, the whole world, whether you're trying to run a YouTube channel of your own or whether you believe you hear from him telepathically. I'm not here to try to take anything from you. I'm telling you what I was told was the truth. And he told me that I was the only one that was going to be able to share this. So I go with that, and not what any human being says, not what any family member says, not what any roommate, coworker, friend, enemy, nobody, you guys. I'll go to my death on this, okay? And that's what it is, and I hope you enjoy it. I enjoy being here. I enjoy talking about something I know about. It brings me pleasure and a grateful heart. And please thank your Creator. And I love you, and it was cool doing 2 videos at once today. I hope it came out well. Okay, I'll see you back soon. Mwah, mwah. Bye, guys. Now I got to do this, right?